I always believe that transparency creates the most genuine music. As an artist at my roots, I'm very open in my own songs, but I wanted to challenge myself to be even more open. So I've decided to take you behind the scenes and break down some of my favorite songs that I've ever written. This is how those lyrics came to be. Welcome to Oddly Worded. So for me, the coolest thing about being an artist is that I get to use music to share my experiences and to kind of reflect on my life. It's almost therapeutic in a way. And with this particular song, For You, I was able to, in a retrospective way, look at my past and look at my present and kind of tell the story of how I got there. And as we dive into these lyrics, I wanted to be open, not only with the, what it's about, but also the process of how I got there and why I chose to use certain lines and words. So let's dive into one of my favorite parts of this song.
I used to live for every weekend. Didn't know what I wanted out of life, chasing thrills. I think I was seeking a way to feel more complete and always after something that I thought was better, but never able to see it.
I used to live for every weekend. Didn't know what I wanted out of life, chasing thrills. I think I was seeking a way to feel more complete and always after something that I thought was better, but never able to see it. So obviously, referencing a time in my life when, going out was a priority, living for that moment and trying to find happiness in different ways, trying to search for happiness and not knowing exactly what it was. And every time that I thought, if I do this, if I have this drink, if I go to this party, if I hang out with this person, that's happiness, and finding out that that really wasn't what it was.
I really had the blinders on. My eyes looking through shades so dark, stuck on my face, I couldn't pry them off. You ever have that dialogue? 3 a.m. with your conscience, go back and forth as you process until you're not enough.
I really had them blinders on. My eyes looking through shades so dark, stuck on my face, I couldn't pry them off. You ever had that dialogue? 3 a.m. with your conscience, go back and forth as you process until you're not enough. I really had them blinders on is referencing, tunnel vision, not seeing outside of what you want to see and what you're after, and really a lack of perspective. My eyes looking through shades so dark, stuck on my face, I couldn't pry them off. Talking about those blinders just being so dark and not having the perspective and willingness to take them off. Have you ever had that dialogue? 3 a.m. with your conscience, go back and forth as you process until you're not enough. Those times when, after going out and you're feeling it, you're drunk and you're just having those conversations with your drunk self about like, what am I doing in life,
Those bad habits consumed me, I couldn't knock it off. And tragedies happened to me, felt like a constant loss. And even though I knew which direction I wanted, kept moving left when I wanted to go right, could never make it stop.
Those bad habits consumed me, I couldn't knock it off. And tragedies happened to me, felt like a constant loss. And even though I knew which direction I wanted, kept moving left when I wanted to go right, could never make it stop. This one, man, is acknowledging, in hindsight that, some of the way I was moving in life was, it wasn't the best. At the same time that was happening, I was losing a lot of people in my life. And so it was compounding those two things were butting heads and creating kind of hindering me from finding that happiness. And even though I knew where I wanted to go, I kept going the opposite way. And looking back, it's just crazy. It's crazy how where you are in your life can dictate how you act.
Yeah, I just kept taking shots. Last calls turned to sitting in those empty lots. Contemplating everything as I was throwing up. To sober up, the hardest lessons happen when you're growing up.
Yeah, I just kept taking shots. Last calls turned to sitting in those empty lots, contemplating everything as I was throwing up to sober up. The hardest lessons happen when you're growing up. This is a reference to, just when you're seeking those thrills and seeking a good time in a certain way, the highs are super high. But when you leave those situations, when you leave the club, when you leave the bars, when you leave those parties, and you're by yourself to reflect, contemplating everything as I was throwing up to sober up. The hardest lessons happen when you're growing up. I just wanted to summarize that whole verse, just saying, like, sometimes you got to go through those tough times to grow up, and when you look back, it makes you better for it. So I've been asked many times why I'm so open and willing to put my life in my music and share it with people who don't know me. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it more so as a healing process for myself. Being able to reflect and think back on points in my life and write about them is therapeutic for me. And the whole purpose of doing music for me is to do it for myself. And what I've learned is the more I do it for myself, the more it connects with others, because billions of people on this earth, there's going to be an overlap of people who go through similar things. And maturing and growing are something that everybody goes through. Different circumstances, different experiences, but I just want to talk about my experiences because it helps me. And if others are able to get something from that, that's great. So if you liked what you heard from this song, For You, it's out on all streaming platforms. I posted the links in the description. The second verse kind of expands on and evolves into a more positive tone. So if you like what you heard, check the description, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the song. Let me know what you think about the lyrics, if they connected with you. And I'll see you next episode where we dissect a whole new verse.